Now you can stay here and tell people where to sign. Yeah. We have a new one. This is what I've been doing. I've been typing it.
I just want to let everybody know I have to clap for recording audio and video separate, so when we start, don't freak out when I clap really loud. Okay? I don't want you to jump out of your chair because something's going on. No, it needs to be one loud clap so that we
Remember that last time we,
you know, in the clap video,
and I went remember that time I entered the phone at KHBR? And I went, KHBR?
6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order.
Beth Nance. Here. Ballard here. Vicki Wilson here. Cheryl Taylor West here. Sam Pierce here. All are present. We have a quorum.
Line item 3, invocation. Lord, thank you for the city council and leaders at every level in our city. Give them grace, bring truth, justice, and stability to our region. Give them power to do what is right and to rule in fairness. May our community be known for its justice. Let it always prosper from the influence of good men and women. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Line item 5, we're going to go in at public comments at 6:01. Public comments and receipt of petitions. At this time, anyone will be allowed to speak on any matter other than personnel matters. Any matter not specifically listed for public hearing elsewhere on the agenda or matters under litigation for a length of time not to exceed 4 minutes. No counsel or discussion or action may take place on a matter until such matter has been placed on an agenda and posted in accordance with the law, Texas Government Code Section 551.042. We have Amy Teal.
Hi guys. I have been accused by some of pursuing a personal agenda as I speak up about government spending and legal processes in our little community of Whitney. I'm allegedly not positive enough and not listening. Last year we watched an elderly gentleman plead with the city for tax relief. I listened. I saw the notices regarding city liens on properties and the city threatening $2,000 a day fines on residents. Those aren't positive. I listened to the city repeatedly lie about what the ordinances do and do not say. Lying isn't positive. I listened to information being shared at the last second during a public hearing. Gatekeeping, not positive. I watched the city spend $48 grand on cameras for this facility when there are more prudent ways to mitigate the concerns. I am watching the city send simple information requests to expensive attorneys in Fort Worth. Loading the budget, not positive. Thank you, though, for finally correcting the city's website. It now reads the tax rate will effectively be raised by 18.7694% and will raise taxes for maintenance and operations on a $100,000 home by approximately $102.80. I listened to the city finally adopt a minimal homestead exemption just in time for grandstanding during election season. Grandstanding is hardly positive, but that small savings is objectively important in a city with a median household income of $37,000. Wise as serpents, raise their taxes by another $100 and give them back about $30 via a timely exemption. Cheerleaders are a dime a dozen. It is easy to praise the status quo. It is not convenient to speak up against injustices when you know you might be the next victim of a government entity weaponizing their codes and ordinances against political opposition. Telling people the harder truths that they do not want to hear just isn't considered positive. But it is something I have been equipped to do for the last 2 decades as I served, watched, learned, researched, and testified before multiple taxing entities at the city, school, county, and state levels, as well as within our statewide and national Republican Party convention process. And it is why, according to this email sent out by the mayor's assistant, every official the mayor talks to knows of this woman. Whitney is my home now. These decisions y'all are making impact me right now. But I've actually been informally listening to people in this community since Gary bought his house here in 2019. Residents deserve honest, timely information of how their hard-earned tax dollars are spent. Our voters might not all be big city rich folks, but they are, for the most part, folks who prefer the benefits that a small town provides without the big city rat race. Texas state law enshrined the right of public information into statute long before I was ever born, and people calling for tax relief goes back hundreds of years all around the world. These are not personal agendas. They are historical ones that our state and federal government are reviewing right now in bills to expand property tax relief, defend property rights from local government tyrannies, and rein in spending via Doge committees. These are public agendas for protecting liberties that need to be implemented right here in our little town of Whitney. In support of these historic principles to defend life, liberty, and property, I am formally announcing my campaign as Amy Teal for Whitney City Council. But whether I win or lose, I will continue to practice political transparency and increase voter engagement in our community. Thanks.
Thank you. Diane White?
My name is Diane Wyatt. I live at 201 North Colorado Street. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm not here as an expert on anything. No. What I'm here for is to ask for more transparency in our meetings regarding a lot of things that are going on. For instance, I have read recently a bad, I don't know the proper word to use, but a report of sorts that our kennels are not properly handled, and there's an issue with the person that's supposed to be in charge of it, the nonprofit organization. Yet I have not heard anything in several meetings regarding how that is going on. I don't know what is legal in a city council meeting or not, but I do have experience with corporate and homeowners associations. And when something is tabled, it stays on the agenda, and you should give an update each meeting on anything that you have tabled. I have asked who the person is that is manning the city council page, because some people they answer questions and some people they don't, and that's not a fair playing field. You either answer the questions or you don't. Nobody has ever answered me of who is posting that position. I would also like to address the newspaper, if they're here, I hope they're here, that when they report on these meetings, most of the time they do not say anything about people that speak. They put everything that the council is doing but they don't address the speakers. And I think that the speakers have a right to be part of the meeting as well. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Timeout at 6:08. Consent agenda, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted in one motion. Should a council member desire discussion of any item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Line item 6, act on approving the regular city council minute meetings for the regular meeting of February 20, 2025, and for the special meeting on February 27, 2025. Line item 7, act on approving the City of Whitney expense report and register report for February 2025. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Department reports. Mayor presenting awards. On January 16, 2025, our EMS responded to a call at Berkshire's where resuscitation was needed. Our EMS transported this patient to the hospital, then back to rehab, and our suspect, our patient, is now home at assisted living. So we wanted to give a CPR SAVE award to Robert Matthews. Okay, Vera Vesquez. Zara? Thank you. Jason Bird. Thank you very much. And Megan Wayman. She's not here tonight?
Son's being deployed, so she's
So
enjoying
she's-
some rough break.
So we'd like to thank these for our CPR SAVE. Those CPR saves don't happen very often, though. Administration report.
Mayor and Council, I wanted to give you an update on where we stand with the CDBG grant and applications for the project information forms to the Texas Water Development Board. Initially, so we talked about with the CDBG that we were going to identify drainage and roads as our priorities to spend the money. So part of the CDBG thing is the engineers have to give you what's called an opinion of probable cost. And that's not what it's going to cost, that's what they think it could cost. So that way we know how to allocate or look at projects. We talked about different areas of the town, specifically that have drainage problems and roads. And the priority came up to be the Dwayne Circle, Chad, and D area, East Beth Street, because if we get a half-inch of rain, it floods over there. So we targeted that area. In the initial opinion of probable cost, just for the Dwayne Circle area, for drainage and the road, was going to be in the neighborhood of $700,000 and some odd thousand. So we had a face-to-face meeting with the engineers. They came back down. We went out and now took them down, put boots on the ground, and walked around the whole area. The engineers thinks that the best course of action is to start at the bottom at Chad and work our way up, right? Because water has to be able to flow down. You don't want to start upstream. So I want to give you some ideas of what this looks like it could cost, okay? Because $750,000, while we are super grateful to get that grant, in 2025, $750,000 doesn't do a lot, okay? So I'm going to give you kind of what we're looking at as far as, now again, this is just me giving you a briefing. We're not making decisions. There's no discussion to be had here. This is just giving you an idea of what could happen. Things in 2025 are very, very expensive. And roads are one of those things. So, just to give everyone an idea, just the channel excavation, the opinion of probable cost on West Chad Avenue, just the excavation for the drainage, $405,000. Same thing on Texas. Texas Street drainage, $348,000. Chad Avenue drainage, $577,000. D Avenue, $471,000. East Beth Avenue, $435,000. Duane Circle, $528,000. Now we get into the road construction. So that's just your drainage opinion of probable cost for drainage in that area. 2 lanes, 12 foot on Texas Street, $128,000. Chad Avenue, full reconstruction, $476,000. D Avenue, full reconstruction, $295,000. East Beth Avenue, $292,000. Duane Circle, $342,000. So if you add all of those together, and you do not take a systematic approach to this, we're looking at $4.3 million for one little area of town. So when we look at doing roads and we look at doing things and people think that we're not looking at it, this stuff is very expensive. We have to figure out how to fund this. So we will be coming to you very soon to say how much money are you as a city, as a council, wanting to put towards this $750,000 to improve that area. Obviously, we can get one done with the grant money. So, you know, we have to tell the engineering firm by April 2nd where we want to spend this money, where we want this project to start. You've lived here long enough to know that whole place over there is a disaster when it rains. So it's very important because, again, this grant has to go to a low-income area. So 51% of the target area has to meet the low-income standards. So that kind of gives you an idea of what that is going to look like for drainage and road improvements. All right, so next thing is we put in our project information forms to the Texas Water Development Board. And I'm excited to tell you that all of our PIFs have been accepted. That means that we are going to the next round, which they will then either invite us or reject us. So I just want to tell you all the things that we as the city have submitted for through the Texas Water Development Board, because there seems to be a lot of miscommunication or misconception about what we're trying to do and what we're looking at doing. So let me just go ahead and clear up that misinformation. Whitney Elevated Storage Tank. That's a new water storage tank for those that don't know what that is. Whitney Wastewater Treatment Plant. Whitney Wastewater Study. City of Whitney Water System Improvements. City of Whitney Wastewater Collection and Treatment Improvements. Those are projects that have been accepted by the Texas Water Development Board, the project information forms, and we're hoping to get invited to the next round on that. That is really good news for us. So we're looking at a 70% loan forgiveness on that, and most of the time, if you meet that certain threshold for income again, you don't pay back the other 30% either. There's stipulations up and down, but we're hoping that we get to do this. We're going to make these infrastructure upgrades that have been long overdue. Since the last 15 years, nothing's happened in this town. In the last 2, we've had to get the audits up. We couldn't do any of this until the audits were all caught up. So we're caught up, we're making headway, we're laying the groundwork to get this town at least to 2010. Because it's going to take a while to get to 2025. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Department of Emergency Services.
Honorable Mayor and council members. So we ran actually on the EMS side. It says 59, we actually ran 49. My big finger copy. So we ran 48 calls in the city. We did run 1 call out in the county covering care flight when they didn't have an ambulance available. Our average response time in the city was 5 minutes, and our 1 call out in the county was 6 minutes. It was actually at the helicopter base out there. On the fire side, we're a little bit busier. We ran 88 calls. 4 fire calls were in the city. 13 fire calls were out in the county. 42 first responder calls with the ambulance was in the city, and 29 were out in the county. So our call volume seems to keep going up each month since I've taken this job. So we're keeping up with the staffing and all that. We have started our safety surveys. We started on the very end of North Brazos, working our way back. We've done 10 surveys. We've knocked out most of the restaurants out there on North Brazos. We're fixing tomorrow or Monday, go from Brookshires and continue back into the city.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, thank you. Please, and code of compliance report.
Good evening, the mayor and council. In February, police department responded to approximately 211 calls for services, motor vehicle crashes, 1 arrest. We did make a total of 4 arrests, total 80 traffic stops, including 88 warning and citations. Christine Holt did accept her position with the police department. She's currently working and handling a lot of the criminal investigations, which she's used to doing. During the course of the investigation, we're actually working an active organized crime ring that's going on from Fort Worth down here, basically using local business names, writing fraudulent checks. We've been able to identify at least 6 suspects in that, which is great, and hopefully we'll be issuing warrants here soon to try to find them and get them on the street. Other issue that's occurring, as everyone knows, probably Drew Youngblood, ACO, also code enforcement, is no longer with the city. So the police department, we've kind of taken over the aspects of animal control and code enforcement this time. I'm working right now trying to figure out policy-wise with animal control, code enforcement going forward. I know we have our temporary kennel set up down there. We're currently using those for dangerous dog cases. Anytime the animal bites where we have to quarantine an animal, then it's just a case by case at this time until we can figure out what our long-term plan is going to be. So, any other questions, Paul, or concerns?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public Works.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For February, we have 5 water leaks. Mr. Dribble already covered our grant submission. Thank you, you did a very good job on that. After hours calls, we had 8 sewer calls and 10 water calls. That's all I have for this month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Library report.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, citizens. I want to take a moment to highlight the library's role as a 3rd place in our community. In urban planning and sociology, a 3rd place is a space outside of home, where family is, and work, where work family is, where people can gather, connect, and build relationships. Libraries are one of the few truly free and inclusive 3rd places left, open to everyone, regardless of age, background, or income. So in this urban 3rd place, or rural 3rd place, last month we saw 1,022 visitors, with 245 attending the programs designed to bring people together. From our new Skillshare series and wellness programs to family nights and community clubs, the library is a place where people can learn, engage, and connect. Beyond those gatherings, our social media engagement has skyrocketed, up 1,240% since October, showing that our impact extends beyond our walls and that people are seeing the programs coming to the library in person and online and making it a hub of activity and connection. As I always say, libraries are not just about books, they're about people, community, and shared experiences. As we continue to expand these programs and have more people come into those programs, attend them, we are expanding the community and those connections. So stay tuned for news on more outreach sessions next month. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Municipal court report.
For the municipal court for the month of February, we had 78 citations written and a total collection of $2,433.03.
Thank you. Moving to our regular agenda, line item A, hold a public hearing to establish a school crossing zone on both directions of Wildcat Drive, beginning at the intersection of FN 933 and ending 2,540 feet northeast of where Wildcat Drive intersects with FN 933, and to consider prima facie speed limit on all school zones in the city.
We're going to be having a public hearing at 6:22 p.m.
Does anybody have anything to say on the Wildcat Drive?
Mayor, let me give some background on this. So one of the things that we have to do to establish a school zone is it's a multi-step process. One of the things is, went to the school board last school board meeting, they requested that the city hold a public hearing. We had to do a traffic study, which we've done, and then we have to hold a public hearing. So what we're looking to do here is Wildcat Drive by the intermediate high school, establish a school zone. This request came from not only the school, but also in collaboration with Commissioner Holcomb, because we get a lot of phone calls for it. So in order to do this by the transportation code, we have to have a public hearing. So now is the opportunity for anybody to voice concerns and or make comments about the proposed school zone on Wildcat Drive.
Are there any comments?
Please come to the podium.
Madam Mayor, honorable councilman, my name's Debbie Gregory. I live at 500 North Angelina Street. When I moved here to Whitney, I lived out by the river, and I would bring my children to San Jacinto to these schools. I was very taken back by the fact that there's no crosswalks and the children just went willy-nilly right across the roads wherever. And it was terrifying to me. So I went to Dr. Otten, who I knew before I'd ever moved here, and I asked him, and he went to Mr. Teal and different ones, and he came back to me and said that there cannot be a crosswalk because we do not have curbs. I'm like, so then I found out that's also the reason we can't have our mail delivered like other small cities, and we have to have the curbs. So is that the same situation that's going to be out there? Do we? I mean, I know this is about the traffic, you know, and I'm just wondering if we're ever going to grow up to the place we take care of our children first by having crosswalks and guards and all that. That's all. Okay. But thank you.
Anybody else have anything to say? Come out of the hearing at 6:25. Line item 9, deliberate and act on ordinance number 2025-0301, amending chapter 12 traffic vehicles in the code ordinances to establish a school zone on both directions of Wildcat Drive, beginning at the intersection of FM 933 and ending 2,540 feet northeast of where Wildcat Drive intersects with FM 933 during the hours of 7:15 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Council, I need to call out an error on it's not an error, it's an omission on page 2 of the ordinance. You'll notice a highlighted area there in yellow. It should have 2,540 feet inserted there. We do have the corrected ordinance, but if you make a motion, please make your motion with that correction to the ordinance. This ordinance will establish a 20-mile-an-hour school zone on Wildcat Drive for those 2,540 feet.
I'll make a motion to approve amending chapter 12, traffic vehicles, establish school zone, both directions of Wildcat Drive, beginning at the intersection of FM 933 and ending at 2,540 feet northeast. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Line item 10, deliberate and act on ordinance number 2025-0302, amending chapter 12 traffic and vehicles in the code of ordinances to establish a 35 miles per hour speed limit on Wildcat Drive, County Road 1240, in the corporate limits.
This comes directly from the speed study. As I mentioned at the school board meeting when I spoke to them, what they do is they take the average number of cars and the speed that they're traveling down that road, and they factor that in. And they take like the 89th or 85th percentile and come up with a number. Initially, the engineers came up with 45 miles per hour, and in discussions with them and knowing that the county is going to be establishing a 35 mile per hour zone on their end of the road, We didn't want to create a little drag strip for 2,540 feet where people could accelerate. So the engineers agreed that 35 miles per hour was more reasonable, and that's what the traffic study now reflects. So this is the ordinance adopting a 35 mile per hour speed limit for Wildcat Drive.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve amending chapter 12 at 35 miles an hour.
All in favor? Aye. Oh, yes.
Line item 11, deliberate and act on authorizing the mayor to write a letter of support to the Hill County Lake Whitney Lions Club for improvements to the old tennis court property located on West Cleveland Avenue. And that is the Hill County Whitney, Texas Lions Club has requested a letter of support for their grant applications, so they can start fundraising efforts for the tennis courts and the playground renovation. And we're asking that the council gives us permission to write a letter of support so they can start on some grants.
I want to make it clear that this is not obligating the city to do anything. We're not financially obligated to do anything. This is simply the council authorizing the mayor to submit a letter for support for this Lions Club to go out for grants.
Well, I'll make a motion then to authorize the mayor to write a letter of support to the Hill County Lake Whitney Lions Club for improvements to the old tennis court property.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yes.
Line item 12, deliberate and act on accepting the 2023 audit reports.
All right, council, so this is the 2022-2023 audit. This is when we had the change of command with the mayor that year. We had 8 months under Mayor Barker, which we did not have a city administrator or anything, in 4 months with the mayor, and then I came on board in July. So trying to put you back in the mind of time frame of when this audit was for. The auditors came up, you're going to want to look on page 12. The net fund change balance for the general fund was negative $316,000, or $316,786,000. When you have somebody that believes they have carte blanche, that's what happens. And then on page 15, the change in net position for the water and sewer fund came up with a negative $145,144. So that one, the budget was way overestimated for revenues. We also had the old water meters, which we replaced because most of them were not functioning correctly and they were under reading. And also just the expense of supplies going way up. So the results are what they are.
Motion to approve the 2023 audit results.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Line item 13, deliberate and act on authorizing the mayor to enter into negotiations with Emergency Services District 1, ESD 1, to establish a new contract. We want to enter into a negotiation with ESD 1 to create that new contract that benefits both the city and the county. The contract has not been established yet, but we wanted to negotiate, was it like supplies and,
So if you recall, we about 2 years ago backed out from ESD 1. ESD 1 is for the fire service district of Whitney, because they wanted us to sign a new contract stating that they would own the equipment that Whitney owned. Well, our taxpayers pay for that dollar, not the ESD district. Therefore, we got out of that contract. However, there's some leadership changes there. I've been talking with them for several months now about us entering back into ESD 1, and they completely understand our position on this. This isn't committing to a contract. This is just authorizing us to enter into negotiations, because what I would like to do is be a contractor of ESD1, so they pay us a lump sum. So I've got some things up my sleeve that I've already laid out for them, and they're on there for it. But we have to even start the negotiations to go there. This is to pay for everything that's outside corporate city limits that our fire department responds to, the volunteer fire department.
Well, I make a motion that, authorizing the mayor to enter into negotiations with the Emergency Service District 1 to establish a new contract.
I'll second.
Got a motion from Vicki Wilson, second from Sam Pierce, all in favor?
Line item 14, deliberate and give guidance regarding the permit committee update presentation.
I should have brought a bigger bottle of water. Okay, so council, if you recall, around July of last year, we established a permitting committee to revamp our permitting process. That permitting committee consists of 2 council members, several of our general contractors in town, as well as myself, our permitting clerk, and the mayor. We presented something to you about 3 or 4 months ago, and we've diligently been working on the feedback we received from there. Initially, we had talked about doing a general work permit and then a complete permit. The general work permit would have had no cost to anybody. And it was just to lay out if you needed an inspection or a report. So we're also currently seeking a new inspection company outside of what we currently have, because a lot of our inspections and permitting process come from them. So we're trying to streamline that. So what we did is we took your feedback and we established what you have in front of you. A lot of things that happen, because contrary to popular belief, you don't have to have a permit to paint. So that is not a thing. That is, again, misinformation. So let me say this, the council and the committee, a lot of the things that we determined would constitute needing a permit would be structural changes, not cosmetic changes. So for instance, if you follow the flow charts that you have in your packet, we tried to make a process where you can follow it, and I'm going to tell you what, my 6-year-old son can understand it. So if they can understand it, anybody should be able to understand it. We tried to oversimplify this process. Again, what we did here, like we mentioned in the last one, there's never been an appeals process to permitting. So you either needed a permit or you didn't. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. What we did is we wrote in an appeals process that if the permitting clerk says you need a permit and you do not believe you need one, it then goes to the building official for review. The building official is appointed by the council. If then that building permit official says, yes, you do in fact need a permit, and you still do not believe you need one, it can come to the council at the next regularly scheduled council meeting, and the council has ultimate say. So it's a checks and balance. There's a multi-level appeals process, and I don't know how this gets any simpler than this. I don't know. You have it in front of you. I'll be happy to entertain questions that you might have. This is not an action item. This is a discussion. I need information to take to the committee, of 2 of which are on this council, to refine this process. Because my next step is, if you have nothing, I would like to go on a trial basis at our next meeting, say, let's try this for 6 months and see if it works. Let's, go from there. And guess what? If you don't have to have a permit, it doesn't cost you a thing.
So my question would be, what are the costs of the permit?
The costs of the permits are established in the fee schedule that the council votes on every October. So if there's something, now, that's what we set for permits as a city. If it's an inspection that goes to Bureau Veritas, which is our current inspection company, it's based off of square footage, and there's a lot more involved in the process of how much a permit costs. I'll give you a real good example. The O'Reillys that's coming to this town that we've been so anxiously waiting on just filed for their building permits today. So those permits were $9,000, but it's based off of the commercial building, what they're building, and those are all fees from Bureau Veritas, not the city. Let me make that clear. So it just depends. It's a new construction of a commercial building, and It's based off their fees, which is again why the city is seeking a new inspection company. Are there any questions I can answer about the process or what it looks like? Do you have any pinch points, concerns? Let's hash this out. I'm really excited. We've been working on this a very long time, and there have been countless hours put into this to try to make this easier, because one of the biggest questions that's always been confusing for everybody is, do we need a permit or do we not? That's not fair to anybody. That's not fair to our citizens. It's not fair to our staff. It's not fair to anyone, because it's been confused. So I want this to be as crystal clear as possible. And if it's confusing, please tell me.
It looks real simple, but I want to ask, did you do some comparisons with some other permitting processes to just kind of determine how closely aligned we are with others?
I can't tell you the amount of cities that we looked at. We took cities, type A general law, as well as home rule cities. We took the best of everything that we thought, and initially that's where we came up with the general work permit, because we really liked that idea. So that concept was, I don't know if I need a permit. It costs you no money at all. You fill out the general work permit, you submit it to the permitting clerk, then she says yes or no. But that idea was rejected. So that's what put us back to the general, or to the drawing board here, and we just kind of combined everything and just tried to say whether you need a permit or you don't.
And there's no sense of reinventing the wheel when you can use some of the work already done in other communities.
Right. Well, these flow charts are designed to break it down Barney style.
And
Big crayons,
it
big
does.
cheap tablets.
Y'all did a good job there, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to keep it simplified, and if we had a permit for every little thing that we tried to do, nothing would get done.
Right.
And so I didn't want everybody to get permitted to death. So that's why we simplified it this way, and it looks good.
Yeah, one of the things, and it's a common misconception, right? The misconception is that the city is trying to stymie development or remodels, and that's the exact opposite. We have rules, and if it's a rule, you're gonna have to follow it. That's why we're trying to revamp this. So, if you have a commercial building in town, which we'll get to later, you have to have an asbestos survey, and guess what? That's a state law. That's not an us law. So we didn't write that into our permitting process. So, we really went to, does it involve a structure? Does it need an inspection? That was where we really came. Is this cosmetic or is this structural? Does it need an inspection or does it not? That's kind of where we got back to with inspections. Because if somebody wants to put shutters on their house, they shouldn't have to have a doggone permit. If somebody wants to put new windows in their house and they're just replacing a window for a window and not changing a frame, not changing anything structurally, it's the same size, why do we have to have a doggone permit? We don't. This right here breaks it down. If you're gonna put a larger window in and change the shape, size, or whatever of your structure, then yeah, you're gonna have to have a permit. But if you're simply upgrading your windows, you don't have to have a doggone permit. We're trying to, again, Barney style, man, that's an army saying, break it down Barney style. Make it to where anybody can understand it. And I'm telling you, my kid can follow this flow chart and understand it, I believe anybody can. That kid's got ADD like you would.
Well, I think it's excellent.
Shame on you. They do it. Like a 5-year-old kid can understand that.
That's right,
That's
Wesley.
right, Wesley.
Okay, so if I'm hearing from the council that you're okay with proceeding with what is in front of you, and you like what you see, then we need to know that so we know what the next step is for us, because that means revamping some ordinances. And if you want to do it on a trial basis, you know, I think that's a good way to do this. Let's try it for 6 months. That 6 months gives us the opportunity to assess whether it's working or not, and then we make some changes. But I kind of need that from you guys. I need to know what to do.
People can till their gardens in their yard without a permit? Okay. Twice this week I've been asked.
A garden never
That's all
requires a
we call
permit.
Well, obviously, that's a flexible plan if you're willing to start with one path and see if it needs revision down the road. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Right.
I agree.
Semper Gumby, always flexible. You have to be. Have to be. All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Line item deliberate and act on asbestos survey quotes for property located at 115, 117 West Washington Avenue. I don't have to look this up, sorry. We have received 2 quotes for performing the asbestos and mold inspections. They are in here. The 115, the quote from ESESIS, the total proposed cost for 115 West Washington Avenue was $1,928. Total proposed cost for 117 West Washington Avenue is $1,620. From MSC Environmental, we have a quote, we gave a quote of,
He did a combined quote.
he did a, break it down, $2,600 for both.
Council, I want you to know that we didn't have to go out for bids for this because of the level of the money, but we did advertise for this openly in the newspaper, online, and we received 2 back. So these are the ones you have. The total for the ESIS, in case you're wondering, is $3,548, and the MSE is $2,600. And again, any public commercial building that is going to go through a remodel per state law has to have an asbestos survey.
That's just the survey, not any kind of repair.
This is not remediation, this is the survey. This is to tell us if there's any in there and what needs to be done about it.
Hey, Billy, I've got a question.
Make a motion to approve on the survey, asbestos survey.
For MSD? or-
Yes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Anyway, like my street, Colorado Street,
What's it?
you know, whenever it rains, and it floods, the water come back in to the house.
Oh, okay.
All right, thank
We'll look at
you.
that, Wesley, thank you.
Line item 16, deliberate and act on ordinance 250303, amending chapter 13 utilities, adopt the new 2025 drought contingency plan.
Comments, anybody?
Okay, so this is something that we have to update every 5 years. Every 5 years, the drought contingency plan is supposed to be updated. I just want to go and let everyone know that this ordinance has not been touched since 1991. So this is yet another example of what this administration is doing to try to uncover these things and fix them. So for 5 years, we have, every 5 years we need to be doing this. Happy to say we just had a TCEQ water inspection and everything went good. But this is part of one of the things that we have to do every 5 years to make sure that we live in Texas and it doesn't rain a lot sometimes, or it rains a lot. But we have to have a drought contingency plan. Our water system operator sent us a copy of what it looked like for pretty much right off the TCEQ's website. We made some changes to fit our water system, and this is what you have in front of you.
Please let me. I know the audience has laughed before when I said water and sewer is my passion. I come from we have done many drought contingency plans, and the state does require it. If you get any funding later on, you must already have in place a drought contingency plan. A lot of you are gonna think, well, we've got a great big lake, why should we need water? We're in a drought right now, right? So, may I please be honored to say I would like to adopt ordinance number 2025-0303, amending chapter 13 utilities to adopt the new 2025 drought contingency plan.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Line item 17, deliberate, am I right? Okay, my numbers are off here. Deliberate and act to add Jerry's Towing and Recovery to the City of Whitney's rotation list.
So I can talk about this one. So, basically Jerry's Towing put in a, service permit application for the City of Whitney to be added to the tow list. I reviewed that application and all the supplemental documents, and I don't see any reason why they cannot be added to the rotation list, so.
How many's in rotation right now?
Currently there's 2, so it's be okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So who are all three, who are all the other?
Currently we have Speedway Towing, Absolute, and then Jerry's Towing is the third.
I make a motion that we add Jerry's Towing and Recovery to the City of Whitney's rotation.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Line item 18, deliberate and act to approve a replat of property legally described as Lot 1, R3, and 1R4, Block C, Country Villages Addition, generally located at 915 East Chad Avenue.
Council, both the 18 and 19 I reviewed, they meet our subdivision ordinances for subdivision of property. There's nothing that I have comment on. It's just a formal action that you have to approve. Both of which are going to be single-family home being built on them. One over here is on Bush Drive, where they're already building the homes, and the other is over on Chad, and they're going to be building 2 there as well. Again, these replats do meet all of our subdivision regulations, so there's nothing going against it.
Can we make a motion to the 2 together or separate? Okay. So I make a motion that we deliberate and act to approve a replat of property legally described at Lot 1, R3, and 1R4, Block C, Country Village Addition, generally located at 915 East Chad Avenue.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Line item 19, deliberate and act to approve a replat of property legally described as Lot 5 and 6, Block 1, Ivers Addition, generally located in the 400 block of South San Marcos.
Make a motion that we approve a replat of property legally described at Lot 5 and 6, Block 1, Ivers Addition, generally located in the 400 block of South San Marcos Avenue.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Line item 20, deliberate and act on authorizing the mayor to execute an internal services agreement with 5 Business Services for the Lake Whitney Public Library.
So I believe this is a good news story. I'll start with that. Christy Rogers with the library. What this is a request for the mayor to be able to execute a letter of intent to use the E-rate program. E-rate is a federal discount program that covers up to 90% of services for libraries and schools. Our Whitney ISD is already a part of that. They're already on the system. And so that is essentially where our discount rate would sort of measure up to. We already have the contract with 5 that you all have heard about a couple, 3 months ago. This is simply because the library billing has to be pulled separate in order to assess this discount. So the only request here is for the mayor to be able to sign this letter saying, yes, if I can give us a separate bill for the library in order to apply this discount up to 90%. Any questions? Thank you.
Make a motion to give the mayor the authority to execute an internet service agreement with 5 Business Services for the Lake City Public Library.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Take care.